For me, knowing what life is like without access to water is not just something I read about. It's something that is a reality for me. And I think that that's why I was interested in coming here this morning. As a child, I had so many experiences with issues of water, and as an adult with sanitation, and I want to share the two of them with you. In fact, they had become buried in my memory until I was asked to come and do this, and I started thinking about what it all means. As a child, I had to walk many miles in the village to go and fetch water, but one particular experience stays in my mind during the Nigeria-Biafra War, when I was 12 years old. From 1967 to 1970, we were forced to run from one place to the other as the war, the Nigerian side increasingly won many battles and took over large areas of territory. And I remember that one of the most difficult things was running to a new place, a new village, a new hideout, and no water. In one of the places we ran to, we had to walk 5 miles to the nearest water source. And at that time, as I was 12, I was the oldest in my family, and all the rest were very young children. So they were in no position to fetch water. So basically, it was up to me. And I remember taking all the dirty children's clothes and diapers down to wash at the stream, finishing that, and then putting water in a bucket in the middle of a pan, stacking all the clothes around and walking 5 miles back. And that stress and the amount of time it took really brings it home to you, how much time is lost in terms of productivity, how much stress you go through just to find water. Water was so precious. That bucket of water was husbanded by my family for the whole day, and then the next day we had to repeat the same thing in the morning and back in the afternoon. So to me, this is not a theoretical thing. Not having water is for real. My second experience is with sanitation. As an adult, when I was doing research for my doctoral thesis, I lived in 7 Nigerian villages for about a year, in different ones. And I remember one village in the north of my country where I stayed, where people said, look, you're going to be here for 2 weeks. Don't walk around without shoes. Don't drink the water. There are big problems with sanitation and infestation. Of course, Ngozi ignored all of that and walked around without my slippers and did all the things I was asked not to do. And obviously, nothing happened until 4 years later, when I just gotten married and had my first child. And then we were living in England at the time, and I remember trying to climb up the stairs. I would be so tired at the end of that flight. And one day I fainted. And it was just luck. My husband came back at that time and found me on the top of the stairs, passed out, with the baby crying in the living room. And so I was rushed to the hospital. And being in the UK, they're very savvy about tropical diseases. So they immediately tested for worms. And guess what? I had masses and masses of hookworms, which when we traced it back, obviously, the doctor concluded it came from that village where I had been 4 years back. And they'd multiplied in my body. There was no sanitation there. And I'd lived with this thing, had a baby through it, and then, almost suffered immensely from it. So I don't want to bore you with these stories, but I just want you to know that being here with you today is not an academic exercise. Getting our consciousness and that of our policymakers up on water and sanitation is not theory. This is something we have to work.